This video is about finding the average rate of change. What is average rate of change? Average rate of change of f of x from x1 to x2 is given by this formula, f of x2 minus f of x1 over x2 minus x1. Example 1. Find the average rate of change for this function f of x equal to minus 3x plus 10, x1 equals to 2 and x2 equals to 7. So step 1, find f of x1. So let's write down f of x is negative 3x plus 10. Substitute x1 equals to 2. So this becomes f of x1, which becomes f of 2 equals to minus 3 times x becomes 2 plus 10. That will be negative 6 plus 10 equals to 4. So f of x1 is 4. Now step 2, find f of x2. So let's write down f of x equal to negative 3x plus 10. Substitute x up to is equal to 7. So this equation becomes f of x2 equals to f of 7, which would be negative 3 times x becomes 7 plus 10. So that will be negative 21 plus 10, which is minus 11. So f of x2 is equal to 11. Now we have found f of x1 is 4, where x1 is 2, and f of x2 is minus 11, where x of 2 is 7. Now we can use step 3. We use the formula, average rate of change is f of x2 minus f of x1 over x2 minus x1, where now we substitute. F of x2 is minus 11, f of x1 is 4, x2 is 7, x1 is 2. Minus 11 minus 4 is minus 15, 7 minus 2 is 5, 15 over 5 is negative 3, so the average rate of change is negative 3. Example 2, find the average rate of change for function f of x equals to x squared minus 5x plus 7 from x1 equals 2 to x2 equals to 4. Step 1, we go find f of x1. So let's write in f of x equal to x squared minus 5x plus 7. Now we substitute x1 equals to 2, and so this becomes f of x becomes f of x1 is equal to f of 2. So now x becomes 2, 2 squared minus 5 times 2 plus 7. 2 squared is 4, 5 times is 10 plus 7. So 4 minus 10 plus 7 would be positive 1. So f of x1 is 1. Step 2, find f of x2. So let's write down function f of x equal to x squared minus 5x plus 7. Substitute x up to is 2. So f of x becomes f of x2. And x2 becomes 4, so it becomes f of 4. So we're going to substitute 4 with the x's. So this becomes 4 squared minus 5 times 4 plus 7. 4 squared is 16, minus 5 times 4 is 20 plus 7. 60 minus 20 is negative 4 plus 7, that would be 3. So f sub x2 becomes 3. So we have found f of x1 is 1, for x1 is 2, f of x2 is 2, where x2 is 4, and we write the formula average rate of change equals to f of x2 minus f of x1 over x2 minus x1. Substitute f of x2 is 3, f of x1 is become 4, x2 is 4, and x1 is 2. Simplify 3 minus 1 is 2, 4 minus 2 is 2, 2 over 2 equals to 1. So average rate of change is equals to 1. Average speed. Average speed is same as the average rate of change. Example 3. The distance as in feet a moving truck from point A to point B is given by this function s of t equals to 30 times cube root of t squared, where t is the time in seconds. Find the average speed from t1 equals to 1 to t sub 2 equals to 8 seconds. So as usual, step 1, find s of t1, where t1 equals to 1. So let's write down the equation. S of t is equal to 30 times cube root of t squared. So now we substitute t1 is 1. So this becomes s of t1 and t1 is 1, so it becomes s of 1 equals to 30 cube root of t replaced with 1, so we 1 square. Now if 1 square is 1 and the cube root of 1 is 1, so you have a 30 times 1, which is 30. So s of t1 is 30. Okay, now we found s of t1 is 30 when for t1 equals to 1. So step 2, find s of t2, where t2 is 8 now. So write down the equation s of t is equal to 30 times cube root of t squared, substitute t2 equals to 8. So this becomes s of t2, and t2 is 8, so it becomes s of 8. So this equation, this becomes 30 and cube root of 8 squared. Now 8 squared is 64 and the cube root of 64 is 4. So you have a 30 times 4, which is 120. So S of T2 is 120. So we have found S of T1 equals 30, where T1 is 1, and S of T2 is equal to 120, where T2 is equal to 8. So step 3, write the formula for average speed, which is S of T2 minus S of T1 over T2 minus T1. Now we substitute S of T2 is 120 and S of T1 is 30 and T2 is equal to 8 and T1 is equal to 1. So now we simplify 120 minus 30 is 90, 8 minus 1 is 7. Divide 90 over 7, so I think approximately 13 feet per second. So average speed of the moving truck is 13 feet per second. Example 4. The position of an object that is thrown upward from a height of 6 feet at a velocity of 64 feet per second is given by the equation s of t equals to minus 16t squared plus 64t plus 6. Find the average speed of the object from t1 equals 0 to t sub 2 equal to 3. So step 1, find s of t1 where t1 equal to 0. So let's start with s of t equals to minus 16t squared plus 64t plus 6. Substitute t1 equal to 0. So you become s of t1 and t1 is 0, so we s of 0 equals to minus 60 times 0 plus 64 times 0 plus 6. So this is 0, this becomes 0 plus 6 will be 6. So s of t1 is 6. So we have found s of t1 is 6, where t1 is 0. Now we're going to find step 2 in s of t2, where t2 is 3. So let's write the equation s of t equals to negative 16t squared plus 64t plus 6. Now we substitute t equals 3. So this becomes s of t becomes s of t2. And this becomes s of 3, which is minus 16 times 3 squared plus 64 times 3 plus 6. Now 3 squared is 9 times 16 is 144. So negative 144. So this will be 64 times 192 plus 6. So if you add these two, so that be negative 144 plus 192 will be 48. 48 plus 6 will be 54. So S of T2 is 54. Okay, so now we have found S of T1 is 6, but T1 is 0. S of T2 is 54 and T2 is 3. So we know that step 3, average speed. Write the formula S of T2 minus S of T1 over T2 minus T1. Now we substitute S of T2 is 54, S of T1 is 6, T2 is 3, and T1 is 0. 54 minus 6 is 48, 303, 50, 48 divided by 16, so 16 feet per second. So average speed speed is 16 feet per second. Thanks for watching.